to grow, and the places that you know seem like fantasy. There's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold, with the truth, the promise in our hearts. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
Every year on the date of the accident, it runs again, plunging into the gap, shrieking like a lost soul. Percy, what are you talking about? The ghost train. Driver saw it last night. Where? Asked Thomas and Toby together. He didn't say, but it must have been on our line. He says ghost trains run as a warning to others. Oh, he went on, it makes my wheels wobble to think of it. Oh, said Thomas, you're just a silly little engine, Percy. I'm not scared. Thomas didn't believe in your ghost, said Percy next morning. His driver laughed. Neither do I. It was a pretend ghost on television. Percy was disappointed. But he was too busy all day with his stone trucks to think about ghosts. That evening he came back, light engine, from the harbour. He liked running at night, He coasted along without effort, the rails humming cheerfully under his wheels, and signal lights changing to green at his approach. He always knew just where he was, even in the dark. Crow's Farm Crossing, he chunted happily. We shan't be long now. Sam had forgotten that Mr. Crow wanted a load of lime taken to 40-acre field. When he remembered, it was nearly dark. He drove in a hurry, bumped over the crossing, and sank his cart's front wheels in mud at the field gate. The horse tried hard, but couldn't move it. Sam gave it up. He unharnessed the horse and rode back to the farm for help. There's still time, he told himself. The next train isn't due for an hour, but he'd reckoned without Percy. Percy broke the cart to smithereens, and lime flew everywhere. They found no one at the crossing, so went on to the nearest signal box. On their way, they met Toby. "Hello," said the signalman. "What have you done to Percy? He's white all over." Percy's driver explained. "I'll see to it," said the signalman. "But you'd better clean Percy, or people will think he's a ghost." Percy chuckled. "Do let's pretend I'm a ghost and scare Thomas. That'll teach him to say I'm a silly little engine." Thomas was being oiled up for his evening train when Toby hurried in saying, "Percy's had an accident." "Poor engine," said Thomas. "Botheration. That means I'll be late." "They've cleared the line for you," Toby went on. "But there's something worse." "Out with it, Toby," Thomas interrupted. "I can't wait all evening." "I've just seen something," said Toby in a shaky voice. "It looked like Percy's ghost. It said it was coming here to warn us." "Pooh, who cares? Don't be frightened, Toby. I'll take care of you." "No," answered Toby. "Not by the smoke of my chimney, chim. I'll chuff and I'll puff and I'll break your door in. Oh!" "Oh dear," exclaimed Thomas. "It's getting late. I'd no idea. I must find Annie and Clarabel." He hurried out the other way. Next morning, Toby asked him where he'd been. "Oh, well," said Thomas, "I knew you'd be sad about Percy, and I didn't like to intrude. I slept in a good shed, and he went on hurriedly. "Sorry, I can't stop. I got to see a coach about a train." And he shot off like a jackrabbit. Percy rolled up alongside. Well, he exclaimed. "What do you know about that?" "Anyone would think," chuckled Toby, "that our Thomas had just seen a ghost."
In the summer, the engines on the branch line collect the hay from the farmers to take to market. The hay is loaded in their trucks, and they work daily. This day was different. Whoosh! Reached Percy. "That was a good one, eh, Thomas?" "Your ugly fizz is getting on my patience, Percy," scolded Thomas. "Why, you're like a green caterpillar with red stripes." "I'm not," said Percy. "Who's been late at the station every day?" Percy was offended. "Whatever. Green caterpillar with red stripes indeed," soured Percy. "I'll show him." Percy soon went to the harbor to collect some luggage. Then there was trouble. A crate of treacle spilled all over poor Percy. Unfortunately, his driver and fireman were not able to clean him up quickly enough because he had to get moving. On his way home, the wind became strong, especially near the hayfields. "You'll have to speed up, Percy," said his driver. Percy tried, but the hay made the rails too slippery. Percy had to stay there until the wind died down. Meanwhile, Thomas was cross. Bust my buffers, 10 minutes late. Where is that green caterpillar? At last, Percy arrived. Look what's crawled out of the hay, said Thomas. What's so funny? Oh, nothing. I'm just glad I was late to see that. And Thomas started away. When Percy got back to the shed, his driver showed him a mirror. Percy was embarrassed what he looked like. Clean it off, driver, clean it off, said Percy in a frantic motion. But it was no use. Thomas had already told Toby, and at that shed later that day, the two engines made fun of Percy and talked about nothing but woolly bears and caterpillars. Percy thought, for being old engines, they were being very childish indeed. There is a small part of Thomas and Percy's branch line where they pass a small village in a valley. One December morning, Thomas told the others, "It's nearly Christmas, but I'll be back to deliver you all some presents." But that night, a couple days later, a heavy snowstorm came. By morning, Sodor was covered in a blanket of snow. The rails became very slippery, and engines had trouble getting from place to place. One day, Thomas and Percy were waiting near the station. "I'm excited to deliver the parcels to the people at the village," said Thomas. But Percy was sad. "I won't be able to do any of that." But Percy's luck changed for the better. "Thomas, we need you at the yard," said the yard manager. "Percy, you will take the parcels." "But I won't be able to deliver presents," said Thomas sadly. "Don't worry, Thomas," said Percy. "I'll say they're from you." Percy puffed through the snowy countryside. "What's that on the rails?" said his driver. Ahead was a man with a red flag. "The rails are closed here," he said. "There's too much snow. If you need to pass, you'll need a snowplow, some tractors, and some helpers. Leave your mail trucks in a siding, and go get help." Percy arrived near the airfield to where the helicopter was. "Harold," said Percy, "can you help us? People are stuck in the snow village in the valley." "Certainly." And Harold flew away. Further up the line, Percy was thinking to himself, "Okay, what's next?" Just then, Thomas with his snowplow arrived with Terence and Clarabelle. "Join in, Percy," said Thomas. "We're going to help the villagers." And the two engines puffed to the village. Once they finally reached the village, they saw Harold dropping parcels from above. Terence soon got to work to clear the snow. "This is fun stuff," he would say to himself. Once they were finished, the people cheered. "Hooray for Thomas, Terence, and Percy, and Harold. The best Santa Claus we've ever had." Percy was puzzled. "What's a Santa Claus?" "Santa Claus," said Thomas, "is a fat guy who goes down chimneys to give presents to people." "You mean—" "No, Percy, not through your funnel, just chimneys. But that reminds me, Percy, you still have your mail trucks to deliver." And Percy puffed away. Just then, Toby arrived with Henrietta. "We've brought hot cocoa and parcels." That night, Toby stayed at the village to help the others with a surprise for the engines. Once they arrived at Timid's sheds, Toby didn't know what they were going to do. That morning, the engines were amazed to see their sheds decorated, parcels everywhere, and streamers from above. They knew this was a truly Merry Christmas. One night, Douglas was sent to the other railway to order on some trucks. This part of the railway is where the diesels went. He was almost finished when he heard something. That sounded like a steam engine. The hissing soon came from a corner. Are you a Fat Controller's engine? You ought to be there. My name is Oliver. With my coach and brake van towed. We ran out of coal and water. We don't have enough steam. We're trying to get to the Fat Controller's railway. Please help us. But what are you doing? Escaping. From what? Scrap. Douglas shivered. Then he remembered how he had snuck over the border to Sodor, so he hatched up a plan. I'll help you get to Sodor, said Douglas proudly. Their crews agreed, and they cleaned Oliver, Toad, and the coach up. They were soon coupled and started to make their way. They were soon stopped by a diesel. Now what's all this? Said the yard manager. It's Sodor's orders. We're about to take the scrap back to Sodor. The foreman looked it over and checked it. Seems to be in order. Carry on. By sunrise, they had made it. While they travelled, Oliver told Douglas how they had got there. You see, me, Darcy, and Toad managed to sneak over to stay from our railway. We hid in tunnels, bridges, and other hiding places, but we were found after my rebuilding. Douglas soon hid them in a shed nearby. They were nicely hidden. Douglas soon went back to the sheds to tell the other engines about it. What can we do? We need to keep Oliver a secret from the Fat Controller, repeated Douglas. Oh, I think he already knows, came a voice. I've heard you snuck an engine over the border, Douglas. Sir, you must listen. The poor engine would have been scrapped without my help. I've brought him a new home. Please don't send them away. It's all right, Douglas. Oliver's crew and your crew told me everything. I promise Oliver will be a permanent part on the Fat Controller's railway. The engines were cheering joy. From that day forward, Duck and Oliver became good friends. They worked on the main line together, and they were both even called Great Little Westerns. Ever since Duck was saved from scrap from Douglas, he had been happy on the railway. He was given the number 11 by the Fat Controller himself, and worked happily near the beachside. The engines were very surprised of Oliver too. They called him sagacious and with sagacity. Oliver was very surprised and impressed by this and blushed. But he would soon grow long-nosed and bragged to the engines constantly. Gordon thinks I'm sagacious, said Oliver. I don't care if you are good gracious, said Duck. We've still got work to do. But Oliver just left. Say no more, lassie, said Douglas. The wee engine's gonna have to learn a lesson for himself. Even Oliver's coaches would agree with this. Then one day, the Fat Controller told Oliver he had to carry some ballast trucks to the station. Oliver was too big-headed to know that trucks can't be troublesome. Then I want no nonsense, do you hear? Said Oliver. But the trucks got annoyed by this.
He's got no right to push us around,
said the trucks.
We'll pay him out.
Oliver soon grabbed his train and headed home. But as he puffed, he realized he was going too fast, and his brakes weren't working.
Go on,
yelled the trucks. Oliver applied his brakes. I'm winning, said Oliver. But it was too late. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Oliver dented the turntable into a position where it was unusable. Soon Duck came with the breakdown train. Well, Oliver, said Duck, are you being so gracious now? Well, I don't think it's so gracious to break Donald and Douglas' turntable. They won't like that very much. Neither the twins nor the Fat Controller were happy when they found out about this. Once the Fat Controller scolded Oliver, he was sent to the works, and Oliver felt like a very silly engine indeed. Duck and Percy work hard at the harbor every day. They help load ships and cargo onto other cargo ships, which are sent all around the world. Their favorite place, though, is the regatta. They love to watch all the sailboats sail by. One day, they were more than usual, and Duck got to thinking, "It would be nice to travel around the world." "I like my rails," said Percy. "I wouldn't want to leave them." Just then, Harold the helicopter flew by and landed. "This is the regatta," he told them, for no apparent reason. "Sailboats come all from miles around. They travel the world." Duck was intrigued. "They are so lucky." For the rest of the day, Duck talked non-stop about regattas, sailboats, and traveling around the world. At last, Percy lost patience. "I like my rails nice and fine," snapped Percy. "I wouldn't want to..." Just then, an alarm rang. "Come on, Duck," said his driver. "A man's injured his arm near the regatta. We've got to get help." Duck wasted no time and headed there. He found Harold airlifting the man onto rails. The man's arm was in a bandage. "Sorry I can't take him to the hospital," said Harold. "But that's Duck's job." Duck marched through and flew by. He soon caught up with Bertie near the crossing, and the injured man was loaded onto the bus. "I liked the way you flew past the rails, Duck," said Bertie nicely. "No wonder they call you a great little Western." Bertie left. Maybe Percy is right, thought Duck. Maybe I do belong here. That night, Percy and Duck stayed a little longer near the regatta. "Look," said Duck, "a shooting star." "No," said Percy. "That's just Harold hovering above." Suddenly, a piece of paper fell from Harold. Duck's driver grabbed it. "It's a regatta flag. Harold's given it to you as a present." Duck realized from that day forth, Sodor was where he belonged. And I don't think he wouldn't trade for the whole world. Wouldn't you agree?